Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth of our Walsh Bay Anzac Day morning ceremonies. I would like to begin this morning by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the lands and waters on which we meet this morning, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. On this solemn occasion, we also especially acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who have helped to defend this great country and served in times of supporting all branches of the Australian Defence Forces. Today, along with Australians everywhere, we gather to remember those who have served to defend Australia. We do this on the anniversary of the day on when Australian and New Zealand soldiers landed on the beach of Gallipoli in Turkey on the 25th of April 1915. Anzac Day has been one of the most solemn mornings or days on the calendar of Australia since 1916. At first, it gave people a chance to remember those honoured, those original Anzacs. With subsequent wars, conflicts and peacekeeping operations, Anzac Day has come to become an occasion to honour all of those who have served. Today, we especially recognise the more than 100,000 Australian servicemen and women who have lost their lives in military operations carried out in this country's name, and those that have survived only to live on with mental health and traumatic and the other issues as a result of traumatic circumstances. The deeds and honours of our servicemen and women can seem remote to us living a comfortable life in this modern world. To help bring some things a little closer to home, Lieutenant Jim Warren, RNZNVR retired, will now share the story of one of our own, a local, a fellow neighbour who served in the First World War. Jim.
Thank you, Andrew. Previously on these occasions, we've spoken about men who served overseas and didn't come back. I thought that today, for a change, I'd talk about a hero who served overseas and came back home to do further good work. This morning I would like to tell you the story of one of our own, Sister Madge Holdsworth from Dawes Point. Madge was born in Sydney in 1883. Details of her early life are a bit of a mystery, but we know that she had at least one sibling, a brother, and that she lived with her parents at 63 Lower Fort Street. We also know that she trained as a nurse. Then came the war, and in 1915, the then 31-year-old Madge enlisted as a staff nurse with the 2nd AIF General Hospital Special Reinforcements Unit. On the 6th of July 1915, and she left Australia on the HMAT Orsova on the 12th of July. Nursing provided a major opportunity for Australian women to actively participate in the war. Some 3,000 Australian nurses served as part of the Australian Army Nursing Service in places as diverse as Egypt, England, France, Gallipoli, Italy, Burma, Salonika and India. Many worked in British hospitals or British Army nursing units, and later with Australian units, as well as hospital ships. It was not practicable for Australian nurses to treat only Australians, so they treated and nursed the wounded of many nations. They proved to be energetic, resilient and hard-working in very difficult circumstances. Challenges they faced included poor facilities, lack of staff, disease, health, harsh climate, and large numbers of wounded and traumatised patients. Language difficulties with some patients was another problem they had to overcome. Madge spent 3.5 years serving with the 2nd Australian General Hospital Unit in Egypt, France, and in 1918 with Hereford Park Hospital in England. Her papers indicate she encountered many of the problems previously mentioned, including being quite seriously ill on several occasions. She must have done a fine job of looking after her patients, though, as she was promoted to sister in October 1918, a month before the end of the war. In January 1919, she left England for Australia on the SS Delta, a former hospital ship, but now a troop carrier. Her military appointment was terminated on the 14th of May 1919, and she went back to civilian nursing. For her war service, she earned the 1914-15 Star, the 1914-1920 British War Medal, and the Victory Medal. This trio of medals was colloquially nicknamed Pip, Squeak and Wilfred, after three popular post-war comic strip characters, a dog, a penguin and a rabbit. We next hear of Madge in 1926, when the New South Wales Government Gazette of the 1st of April advertised that she had been appointed a baby health care nurse. She did well, and it was not long before she took charge of the Manly Baby Healthcare Centre. She must also have done well there, because in September 1928, when announcing her appointment to start a baby healthcare centre in Orange, the Director General of Public Health referred to her as a splendid woman. At the time, she was on sick leave, and another nurse had to open the centre. And it seems she never made it to Orange, because on the 29th of December, the Sun newspaper published an article about Madge's pre-wedding party at the Civil Service stores, hosted by her sister-in-law, where she was presented with a silver afternoon tea set and a sheaf of delphiniums and pink carnations. On the 6th of January 1929, she left for Rabaul, New Guinea, to marry David Miller Forsyth, an accountant and coconut plantation owner, who had been severely wounded in Poitiers, France, on the 26th of July 1916, while serving as a lieutenant with the 19th Battalion AIF. While we have no proof, it is romantic to think that they may have met while Madge was nursing David back to health, as there is a slight overlap of their dates in the UK. David's injuries seriously undermined his health later in life, and following an operation in Sydney in April 1932, he died and was cremated at Rookwood Cemetery. He and Madge had only been married for 3 years. Madge remained in New Guinea, managing the coconut plantation, 50 miles outside of Rabaul, and performing social services. The Australian Women's Weekly of the 26th of June 1937 reported on her being awarded the King George VI Coronation Medal for her services as a social welfare worker. It seems she remained in New Guinea until the Japanese invaded in early 1942, because in an affidavit which was signed in May 1942 regarding the loss of a brass return services badge issued by the Department of Defence, she states that it was lost as a result of enemy action in New Guinea. She must have been evacuated shortly after the start of the invasion, as the affidavit was signed in Mossman, where she was living at 6 Noble Street. The later years of her life are also a bit of a mystery, but we understand she was still living at the same address in Mossman in 1958, and that she died on the 28th of January 1960. This is only one of many stories of service, both in war and civilian life, and we now remember Sister Madge Forsyth, née Holdsworth, who spent 3.5 years on active duty looking after our brave soldiers and those of other countries, and followed this with many years of significant service to the community.
Thank you, Jim. The Ode of Remembrance has been recited to commemorate wartime service and sacrifice since 1921, and the familiar verse is the 4th stanza of the poem, For the Fallen, written by Lawrence Bignon and first published in 1914. Today we've included, as a precursor, the naval stanza, which was also written by Lawrence but at a later time. On completion of the ode, the last post will be played by Fire and Rescue New South Wales musician Ian Stenning. This historical music was played in army camps to announce the end of the day at a time soldiers should be resting. The last post today is played for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It means they've done their duty and they can now rest. After the last post, there will be a minute's silence. This is time for us to individually think about those who've served in Australia's armed forces, those who continue to serve, and those who have lost their lives. On completion of minute's silence, Reveille will be played. Historically, this was used to wake up soldiers sleeping on the battlefield. If you're not already, please be upstanding for the Ode of Remembrance, which will be recited this morning by Commander Andrew Johnston, RAN.
They have no grave but the cruel sea. No flowers lay at their head. Their tombstone is a rusting hulk, a vast on the ocean bed. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
Thank you, Commander Johnston and Musician Stenning. Friends and neighbours, that completes the formal part of the ceremony this morning. We now invite you to participate in the modern take on a gunfire breakfast, the ubiquitous sausage sizzle, being over in front of the bar cycle area, and those of you that are in desperate need of coffee, I understand Zupanos is also serving there. Thank you for your attendance this morning, and enjoy the rest of your day, remembering in your own particular way. Good morning.